Sajid Javid, the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, who you just saw referred to by Mr Hammond, is in our Westminster studio. So, Mr Javid, good to see you. I'll come on to business rates in a moment. But first of all, that rise in national insurance contributions for the self-employed. You've broken a manifesto promise here, haven't you?
No, what we heard from the Chancellor today, he was very clear, where he was going to spend money, whether it's adult social care, whether it's on business rates, it was going to be raised elsewhere. And I think it's good that we have a Chancellor that's been very clear about where the money comes from. And he's targeted something, which is one of those factors is the national insurance on self-employed, to create more fairness in the system between those paying national insurance that are self-employed and those that are employed, which is actually 85% of the population.
Yes, but 2.5 million people are now facing a rise in their national insurance contributions that they might reasonably not have expected from reading the Conservative manifesto at the last election.
Well, what he set out, I think it's trying to be fair, but when you're trying to raise taxes, coming in a way that recognises that whether you're self-employed, whether you are employed, that we all make the same use of public services. We all are now entitled to exactly the same state pension, and therefore we should be making contributions which reflect that. And I think it's right that the Chancellor looks at the best ways to finance any increased spending he's bringing about and is upfront about that. And that's what we've heard from the Chancellor. It's about fairness. It's about keeping our economy strong as we work our way through leaving the European Union.
The Tories have always been the party of entrepreneurs and white van man, and that reputation is in tatters now, isn't it?
I don't accept that at all. I think it's absolutely clear. Ever since 2010, we have seen a remarkable turnaround in this economy. More businesses created than ever before. The Chancellor today, for example, also highlighted corporation tax falling from 28% in 2010 to 17% in a couple of years from now. That will make it the lowest corporation tax rate in the G20. And also, as we've just seen in your analysis from your colleague, that we are seeing growth increasing next year in terms of the forecast from the independent OBR, which is going to be the fastest growth rate in the G7. And now any business would welcome that. They want to see the economy remain strong.
Now, looking at the business rates package that you've announced today, a total of £435 million. That's a bit of a drop in the ocean in the context of a tax that raises £25 billion a year, isn't it?
I think it's actually it is significant support. It will help thousands of businesses, but it's rightly targeted at those businesses that are the most hard-pressed. And what we've heard today from the Chancellor is that those smallest businesses that benefit from the small business rate relief, we want to make sure that they're capped so they don't face a high percentage increase in their bills. Also, there was help for pubs. But in addition to all that, this is discretionary fund for local councils, £300 million in total, that will help them to work with other businesses further and try and ease the burden. I think it's right that we found new money for that. We didn't collect it from business. We found new money for that to help businesses. And I think, again, it shows that where help can be provided to boost businesses, it will be.
How can you be sure that local councils will actually spend that £300 million that you've earmarked? Are you going to be monitoring how they do that?
Well, when we set out the details, which we actually have already set out guidelines for businesses today, for local councils today, that money, the whole amount, £300 million, can only be spent on providing relief to businesses from business rates.
We're looking at the fiscal arithmetic, Mr Javid. The tax take, according to the OBR, is projected to go from 36.7% of GDP in 2017-18 to 37.2% in 2021-22. That's not very conservative, is it? You're piling on taxes.
Well, first of all, if you ask whether it's income taxes, the increase in their personal allowances, which has lowered their tax bills, if you look at the corporation tax increases, falls that I've mentioned, all these do lead to lower tax bills. But overall, the tax take increases because we've got a growing economy. When you've got a growing economy which can be helped by falling tax rates, then of course the government will be able to take in more. But the net result of all this is that it makes it much easier to reduce the deficit if you've got that growing economy. And what we heard from the Chancellor today is that during this forecast period, up until the end of this Parliament, the deficit keeps falling as a percentage of GDP year after year, by 2020 reaching just 0.7%, which is the lowest it has been for 2 decades. And I think that helps build confidence in our economy.